is Robert Fritz's Structural Consulting channel. What this is: we present full structural consultations, ones that change people's lives. The idea behind this channel is for you to witness a completely different understanding of the human condition. Here are a few things to know. Structural consulting is not therapy. It is an exploration of the underlying structures in the client's life that produces predictable patterns of behavior. What is structure? Structure is a combination of elements that impact each other. In these sessions, the client's structures are a combination of what they want to create, how reality actually is, and the various concepts that they have. The concepts clients have are usually hidden from them, but these concepts have impact in influencing the client's life patterns. A change of structure will cause a change of the client's patterns. The principle: the underlying structure of anything will determine its behavior. The process involves seeing the actual patterns in the client's life, which leads to a better understanding of the client's underlying structure. The sessions last between 1 or 2 hours. We suggest that if you do decide to watch them, do so when you have time to see the entire process. If you want to see more structure consultations, subscribe to the channel. And here is the session.
What would you like to talk about?
Yeah. I would like to talk about, pattern or otherwise, that for whatever reason, career hasn't been a big light in my life. It hasn't been a big focus, which in and of itself hasn't been an issue. Mm-hmm. But I have had ambitions, and often the intersection of those ambitions involve other people. So when I meet people that are ambitious with projects, and I think, I could be a part of that. Uh-huh. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, why do I think I need other people to do what I want to do? It may involve other people.
Well, do you think you need other people? And when you want to get involved with other people, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, nothing's wrong with it. When I do get involved with other people, I tend to I do so willingly and excitedly. And
at first, I've done your pattern. Do you have some other stories that we can put the pattern through? A typical set out for something, had it for a while, didn't have it at the end.
Yeah, I was trying to kind of roughly have a catalog.
Well, just one. I just need another one at first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the story. Don't tell me the story. I'm going to just ask you if this or that happened. Mm-hmm. So you had a desire, and you started in the beginning with a desire with high hopes.
Mm-hmm.
And you found an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you got involved.
Yeah.
And it was good at first.
Yeah.
And then things started to move in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And then you tried to make it work.
No, not with that one.
What did you do?
I think I'm feeling a little unclear actually about how solid my story was, what I was focused on. Try to make it work.
Well, the question I had is things started moving in the wrong direction, which you said happened. And then what happened?
Yeah.
You tried to make it work?
Okay, yeah. Let me just, I'll send it back on the
Okay.
story. Right.
Okay, all right. And then did an unexpected event change the situation?
Yes.
So interesting, huh? Things got worse.
Yeah.
Was there some kind of confrontation at that point?
Yes.
And you tried to smooth it out?
Yes.
Okay, things got even worse after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you tried to re-engage to get involved again.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, there was another confrontation or confrontation, really.
Yeah.
Okay, and you tried to smooth it out. Things got even worse. And then the situation drifted to just no progress at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you were out.
And then I was out.
And then after you were out, did you have to do any cleanup?
After I was out, but it was solo. It was totally solo cleanup. Like,
Okay. But the point is, it's there as a step.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that story, you did every one of the steps you did in the story that you sent me. Want to try one more? Maybe, relationship, job, something, project, whatever.
Yeah. Give me a second. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Let's try it. Let's try it.
Okay. Desire with high hopes.
Yeah.
Okay. You found an opportunity.
Yeah.
Got involved.
Yeah.
Was good at first.
Yeah.
But then things started moving in the wrong direction.
From me, yeah.
Tried to make it work.
Yeah.
Did then some unexpected event change the situation?
No, not in this one. Oh,
Okay.
yes, it did. Yeah, it did. It did. It did. Yeah. How funny.
Yeah. No, what's so interesting in your pattern is that predictably this unexpected thing happens that changes the situation.
Ah, that's so funny.
And it's not linear logic in terms of you did something and got a consequence. This unexpected event, it's in the pattern, but it comes from nowhere. In other words, it's not an outcome of something that was a logical step in the pattern, which to me makes it really, really interesting how these things work. Okay, so after the unexpected event, things got worse.
Yeah.
And then there was some kind of confrontation.
I feel like that extra I feel like in this story, the next step of things got worse was then it cut. I don't know if that extra confrontation was there.
Okay, well, things got worse. Did you try to smooth it out?
Yeah, you could say so. You could say that there was still hopes.
Did you try to re-engage or get involved again?
I mean, in my thoughts, not in action.
Okay. Situation drifted to no progress.
Yeah.
And then you were out.
Yeah. And the thoughts remain here and there. Yeah.
Yeah. And was there any cleanup afterwards or things you had to?
Not in this case.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you did most of the steps. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so okay, so desire with high hopes. This is really interesting the way you get into things. I mean, you're really very hopeful and thinking, "Wow, this is it finally."
Yeah,
And then of course you find an opportunity, you get involved, and things are good at first. And you know the two rubber band thing, my two rubber band thing. You know how like here you are, things are going really well,
yeah.
and then you're being pulled in the structure away from that. But I think there's it's an interesting thing where there's a way that you try to make it work, and the way you try to make it work is to acquiesce to the person's wishes. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what? So then we have an unexpected event, and then things go downhill from there. And in some of the stories, then there's a confrontation. And it's interesting that the confrontation really is a moment where you tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work, and then you try to smooth it over.
Yeah.
So the function of smoothing it over is to kind of reduce the emotional conflict you're feeling from the confrontation. So you kind of take it on yourself to try to make the thing work. It gets
Right.
even worse, and you try to re-engage and so on. And then in a couple of the stories, there was this repeat back to confrontation and all of that. And then finally, just nothing happens, and then you're out. And then there was some cleanup.
Right.
So our job is simply to find out how come you have this pattern.
What's going on with that?
Yeah. What do you usually tell yourself at the end of one of these episodes?
That I did my best. I did everything that I could have.
Yeah. How come it
Um,
didn't work then?
because the other person has, has basically decided, the other person has decided in some way to put me in the bad camp. It's like,
Why would they do that? I mean, not in real reality, why wouldn't they do that? But
yeah.
in your understanding of what happened, how do you explain it to yourself? You just picked the wrong people, or something more general, or how do you think about it?
Yeah. Definitely, it's not a case of picking the wrong people. I don't tend to think of. I Okay. What is the thought that's pretty consistent through a number of stories? Is when it involves people, at least, they've got so much going on in their world or whatever that they can't handle. They can't handle what I've brought up in some way.
In what way can't they handle it?
Or they are handling it by
Just
pushing it away.
what way can't they handle it?
Yeah, they can't handle it by.
Let me put it to a different way. What's the it they can't handle?
Okay, yeah, the thing that I'm highlighting, the thing
Which
that I've
is,
said, hey, this thing's going on. Um, I think it's an important thing, and I'm not sure really why it's happening. It doesn't seem to be necessary, but here it is. And then there's a distancing, and so from that I conclude like, oh, that they couldn't handle what I highlighted.
you mean couldn't handle the truth, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So you pick people who can't handle the truth? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I pick people. I pick people who can't handle the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get into the enterprise, whatever it is, what are you telling yourself? What's interesting in the pattern is the kind of high hopes you have, like this is it. What makes this it? In other words, what is it that you're hoping for?
Yeah. There's some hope that that this is it, that this will change everything in a way. That
Yeah. Why is it that things need to be changed?
because how they are currently, I'm not exercising my full potential. And in this changed circumstance, more of me is going to come forward.
Why is that important that more of you comes forward?
Because I feel like I've got a lot to give that I haven't really given, haven't contributed.
So what?
Yeah. And
That's a question. That's not a statement.
yeah.
I want you
So
to think it. I want you to think it through, because you're describing a difference between how things are and how you think they should be.
mhm.
And I'm asking, why should they be the way you're describing they should be? Like you expressing more of yourself or more of your um, abilities or capacity or talents or whatever.
So what that there's a difference? What's the big deal about that?
Well, it's more, what's the motivation behind that?
What's the motivation behind kind of resolving this difference between how things are and
Well,
how
I don't know it's about resolving, but in the sense that the high hopes in the beginning
Mm.
of the pattern, it's not like just, oh, this looks good, maybe I'll try it out. It's, this is it, I can finally,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost like salvation in a way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, my ship has come.
Yeah. Okay, can you bring me back to that last question then?
Well, I mean, and And what the high hopes are about, you said, was a chance for you to express more of your potential.
Yeah, chance to
And so the
express.
question is, why does that matter to you whether you express your potential or not?
Yeah.
But you can see the concept that you have, at least in some ways, is that it's important for you to express your
Yeah, I mean,
whatever they are.
what an ideal belief. Like, I
Well, I
can
mean,
see how
that's functionally what's going on in the pattern, though.
yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm touching on the thing of, the concept has a reversal that you can see, its opposite is somewhere. And I'm so driven by this expressive idea.
Well, you probably also have a very strong dynamic urge, which is a different thing entirely. But it's the high hopes is not based on your dynamic urge. The wanting to get involved is probably based on mixed motives, including your dynamic urge.
Okay. So why these high hopes? Why?
Yeah, there's another thing I see in the pattern, which is your position in the pattern is subordinate or less equal than the powers that be in the pattern.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting moment in the pattern where you confront and it doesn't work well, and then you try to smooth it out by almost taking it on yourself in terms of apologizing or whatever, and the function of that is to reduce the emotional conflict of the confrontation. Not that you think you were wrong, because you don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's yeah, that for sure. It's like, let me acquiesce to the progress of the bigger thing. So it's the subordination again.
Yeah, because you feel powerless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're looking at the way you think about yourself in relationship to the world or to circumstances or other people. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at your life, you kind of can see the.
Yeah. Kind of like I didn't, and I didn't get the memo type of thing, like playing catch up. What's the game here I'm supposed to play? I can't get
that you can't figure out.
That I can't figure out. Yeah. And then I'll put my foot in it, and then everything crumbles, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite a victim of circumstances, but just feeling like an underdog and not knowing why.
Yeah, something
So,
moved.
because I mean, I'm looking again at the high hopes thing. It's almost the enthusiasm to try to overcome the situation you think you're in, as a function in the pattern. Do you know? It's almost like the sincerity and the enthusiasm and the 100% is going to overcome whatever is there that you feel put you in a less powerful position in relationship to other people?
Overcome what is there that has put me in that
Yeah.
less powerful place. Right.
Yeah. Any
But yeah,
thoughts?
so there's all of that meaning kind of bound up in whatever this high hopes is. There's all of this meaning of now there'll be a victory of sorts that I can claim forevermore.
And if you claim the victory, what does it say about you?
That it says about me that I overcame whatever struggle I had.
And why is that a good thing?
Because because there's lots of ways that I struggle. So if I can claim a victory over one, then I can possibly, struggle less.
Well, what makes you the kind of person that has to struggle? And then therefore overcome?
He needs to struggle. I feel like I'm going to dodge the question.
Well, look, it's the way you position yourself in relationship to the world. Okay.
Yeah,
Right. So what is it that you think about the world that you need to overcome how it is?
Right. Yeah, I'll just say the thought I had there is, in my own world, there's a lot of ease. And then as soon as the world comes into it, there's the struggle.
Yeah. How come? How come? What is it about the world that you suddenly have to
like
do stuff that's weird?
Exactly. Yeah. It's dangerous in some way. Like there's this it's like, oh, this is dangerous out there. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because in your pattern, the way that you try to control things is to acquiesce. So there's the confrontation. And then you're trying to smooth it over. You're trying to control by taking back the confrontation and make it okay. And you may not have seen that as a control strategy, but it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
What do you imagine would happen if you didn't do that? If you really just kind of blew it out of the water and, followed through on the confrontation in terms of telling the truth? And I'm not saying I'm asking what you imagine would happen, not what might really happen.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's the fascinating thing, right? Because the concept is like, oh, what's going to happen is kind of like people will be horrified by me in some way.
You're dangerous.
I'm dangerous. Yeah. Yeah, like what? In one little tiny thing happens and you just like
Yeah.
can steady on.
So in some ways, you're also trying to control your anger, yourself, your reactions.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But your reactions though are about powerlessness versus having power.
The reactions I actually have and demonstrate.
Yeah, I mean, it's let's say there's a reaction and then a strategy. And the reaction might be, I'm going to tear your head off. And then the strategy is, let's smooth things over.
Okay. Okay.
You know, but what's interesting to me in the pattern too, really interesting, is the unexpected event, which you have no control over. In your pattern, there's a moment where you absolutely have no control
yeah.
whatsoever. And then it happens every single time.
And I just had a pop of another story that I'm tracking as this is all going on, because it's like, it's just seeing like these overlaying patterns that fit together.
Yeah.
And absolutely, this other story, same thing. I'm just there, and suddenly, why did you bring this to my doorstep?
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah.
In a funny sort of way, too, the high hopes is a control strategy.
Riddled with them. The high hopes is a control strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, because I can also see that it's something that I'm aware of in some way, and so I'm like in this tempering thing. Like, let's temper the high hopes. Why?
Yeah.
And it can happen very quickly. A lot of my general reaction to uncertainty or big argument, a lot of turbulence, is concept, high hopes. Maybe this is the springboard into it, whatever the it is.
Well, the it is represents some kind of salvation, right? Not in the religious sense, but in the life direction sense.
Right.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I laugh there because I've just smothered that it butter all over your work for the last 3 months, or last 6 weeks or so. It's like, what's salvation?
It's right. In the new high hopes.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant.
Yeah. Was there something that happened in your life that you made a conclusion about?
I mean, nothing. I would imagine so. There's
okay. There wasn't anything though that stands out.
Nothing. Nothing big. There's a story that has come up a few times that sort of seems so small and irrelevant.
Well, let's hear it.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I must be about 7 years old in school, and we've been put into teams, and we're going to do a presentation. And so there's some creative projects that we have to do. One of them involves drawing a can of dog food, which was tasked to my friend. And he didn't draw the can of dog food. And I confronted him about it. And then I think I don't know, he said he wasn't going to do it. So then I did it. I decided I'd draw the can of dog food. I can't remember exactly the detail there, but
yeah. Okay.
The can was produced. Anyway, I remember then getting in trouble for how I handled the situation. That I kind of, maybe the timeline's a bit blurred, but it's all in the same school period. There was this event, and then there was me being reprimanded for bullying him. in some way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a friend, so it was that.
No, but that's the type of event where you might have come up with the conclusion. The thing about concepts is they're not repressed areas of consciousness that you have to relive and, resolve. That's over. But what's not over is the conclusions that you made, even at 7 years old, about how you are, how the world is, and how you have to operate in the world. And one of the things that you concluded was it's not okay to be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think another thing you may have concluded is that the world's unfair. Since that was a situation that was unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. As you describe it, you got admonished for taking up where the guy left off because he wouldn't do it and it had to get done. So you did it.
Yeah. Like the bit that is crystal
By the way,
clear.
did you bully him?
I think after the event, I was really bitter about it.
But that's different than bullying him.
Yeah. So,
because the thing you were criticized for was bullying him, which is different than, asking him if he was going to do it. He said no, and then you did it.
yeah, this is where the memory's a bit blurry. I can't remember when the teacher got involved. So it may have been that I was like, well, this is done. What the fuck? I mean, it needs to get done. It was your job. You haven't done it. So what? You don't like the fact that I'm bringing it up that you're supposed to do it. And then at some point, maybe even after the project,
how your pattern is right there when you were 7.
Yeah.
The step confrontation and then smooth it over.
Yeah. So what does that mean? I formed a concept even earlier, or that could have been the initial imprint, or?
Well, I don't know if that was the event that in which you then concluded, because there might have been other similar things too, since it was a pattern.
Yeah.
But you can start, you can see that you start with the notion of the world is dangerous, as you said, unfair.
I can't be myself.
And you can't be yourself when you can't tell the truth.
Yeah. Another thing, I like even younger, playing hide and seek, hit my head, blood rushing down my head. My mum sees, the teacher sees, rush me to the hospital. They tell me, oh, what happened? And I was playing hide and seek and I ducked and I hit my head.
Ouch.
And I was so embarrassed. That wasn't an okay story to tell. So I said that I slipped.
Yeah.
So, but it's a similar thing. Like, I can't be myself. I can't tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it? So here's the thing that as I'm looking at your pattern, I have 2 different ideas about your underlying structure. And one is okay, sorry, it froze. My side.
Okay, great. I heard.
Okay, you either have identity with a freedom control strategy, or you have freedom and control with an identity strategy.
Wait. Could you say that again? Freedom and control?
Well, in other words, freedom and control has to do with the world's dangerous and you have to control it. And there's questions about freedom. For example, free to be yourself. And free, other people are also free to live their lives the way they want. Or it's about identity. It's about identity and you have a strategy about control. Or you actually have a control strategy in which a subset is identity, how you think about yourself.
So you're saying
It's one of those two, is what I'm saying. I don't know which one.
Right.
And we need you to help us figure this out.
Mm. Yeah. The control. I watched one of the previous episodes where there was a control strategy.
No, don't think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a different person with a different structure. Even if it falls into a similar issue, it's not the same thing at all.
Got you. Okay. So how do I help us out?
Well, think about your life in terms of the degree of control you try to impose on it.
Yeah. So
Or when you're involved with other people, how you change in a way from how you actually really are when you're on your own.
well, the kind of irony here when I think of it is that on one hand, I live a very free existence. So,
Yeah, when you're on your own, it's structural tension. You're in a different structure.
yeah,
You have
exactly.
you have nothing to play off of in terms of reaction.
Yeah,
So
100%.
whatever concepts you have are irrelevant in that structure.
Yes. I mean, 100%. What I wanted to
Okay, that helps me now. Actually, that helps me.
because I live on this island with population zero.
It
So
really helps me. It's totally about the world's dangerous and you better watch out. It's not about identity. Because when you're on your own, you're fine.
yeah, right.
It's not like when you're on your own, you have doubts.
No.
Okay, all right. So that
No,
answers, that quickly
I mean
answers that
that's.
question. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that reason I don't think I've ever fell for the self-esteem things. I'm fine. Just leave me alone. I'm good.
Yeah. Right.
But I found it interesting. Like I built my whole life away from people.
It's a part of your control
Yeah,
strategy to isolate
exactly.
yourself from danger that
Yeah,
they represent. It doesn't, on the other hand, limit you in terms of things you might want to do.
it does. You say,
It might limit
right?
you in terms of things you might want to do,
Right.
right?
Yeah, certainly, certainly, and there's genuine thing. Like I like my life, and so it's
Yeah.
there's a balance where it's like, yeah, it's acceptable.
It's not
So
a
it's not as
balance.
confrontational.
No, it's not a balance. It's two different channels.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and one is a compensation for the other. Now, when you're on your own, it's fine. That's a different structure entirely.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to rely on other people. You don't have to confront people with the truth and then smooth it over later.
So tiring. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds
Okay. So a couple of things is um, your idea about how the world is. Can you describe it in as accurately as you can imagine it, how you think about it? And when I say the world, I mean I'm not just talking about the world environmentally. I'm talking about other people and systems and politics and social systems and so on and so on. How other people are.
yeah. The world is a bunch of people. No one really has a clue, but there are some people that are pretending to have more of a clue, sort of pretend to have a clue,
Hmm.
and they sort of dominate and have
Control.
benefits that come with that.
You mean control?
Right. Yeah, they run the shit, whatever the scale it happens on.
Yeah.
But there are people that get it, that get the way the game works, and they can leverage that to their advantage.
Okay, so all right, you know, et cetera, right? We got it. Now, in reality, do you have any idea how the world actually is? I'm looking for a yes or a no.
How it actually is.
Yeah, in reality.
Not sort of yes or no. Do I know how it is? Maybe, probably the honest answer is no.
Yeah.
I don't know how it actually is. Not the
No,
world.
but see, because of the conclusion you made, you almost attract the kind of people that fulfill the role of the pattern.
Uh-huh. Because I've got the conclusion that people don't know what they're doing, and then the ones that do
Who
just
have no integrity and are just full of shit. And you got to work with them anyway and try to figure out how to manipulate them into good behavior.
Yeah, and you hear it said like that, it feels terrible to me. I would never say that these people have low integrity and are full of shit. Like that would never come out.
But look, that's what you actually think, and I know that from the smooth it over step in the pattern.
Yeah.
Because you still think they're wrong, but you're going to take it on yourself to try to smooth it over because they can't and won't see it because they're unwilling to have integrity, is basically,
right,
what the implication is in that step.
Right.
Okay, now, so when you go into your pattern, you have a big control strategy. It starts with high hopes, and then it ends up being confrontation and smooth it over. And then somewhere in the pattern, it's try to re-engage and try to get it to work, take two.
Yeah. Always take two.
Do you see how the whole time you're trying to figure out how to control what's in the situation? And you've got this event that happens, unexpected event, which, I mean, it's so structurally perfect.
Say more about that.
Something that absolutely you can't control, it came out of nowhere, and there it is, bam. So I want you to think about it and then say, I can't control what I can't control. And think about it from the standpoint, is it true, first of all? Is it true that you cannot control what you can't control?
In reality, I know it's true.
Well, we want to be steeped in reality here.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, I know it's true for sure. I can't control what I can't.
Yeah, no. In the pattern, it is that you can't control what you can't control.
I can control what I can't control. Right.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
I mean, that's what. Yeah. Okay. How about this?
Yeah. And then I'm like, but can't you see how much I've tried to control the situation? That's not how the sentence finishes. But
no, but it is reciprocity in the sense, well, I did my job. What about you? Which is itself is a part of control strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, so just say this over a number of times. I can't control what I can't control.
I can't control what I can't control. I can't control what I can't control. I can't control what I can't control. I can't control what I can't control.
True.
Yeah, true.
What are the implications of that as you look at your life?
The thing that pops, I don't know, this the longings pops, this high hopes thing. It's like, what's that about? What's the high hope?
Well, the function of high hopes is that you can control what you can't control through good intentions and positive, vibes.
Yeah. So that's where my mind goes. It's like,
Did you go through a period where you were doing positive thinking and that kind of stuff?
I mean, I've come across it, but for the most part, no. Like, I wasn't ever really trying to, I watched The Secret. I was like, oh, wow, maybe, there was but for the most part, I was like, this is bullshit. And there was a counter reaction. I'm going to go hard into how the world actually functions in logic and rationalism and all these people.
Except the function of high hopes is to overcome adversity through enthusiasm.
Yeah. Yeah. As I was saying it, and the reason I kind of laughed was coming up was every time I said it, I can't control what I can't control. The unexpected event flashed. The unexpected event flashed. So each time I said it, it was like, of course you can't control what you can't control.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a way you position yourself in the world in relationship to how you think the world is. And in fact, you don't really know how the world is. None of us actually really do. It's not like somebody's got the answer. So current reality, we looked at current reality in relationship to your dynamic urge. The dynamic urge is you really want to do a lot of things. Some of them might actually involve other people. Current reality is you don't really know how the world is, and you can't control what you can't control. And so therefore, if it involves other people, part of the creative process would be find the right people rather than the wrong people, or the right people find you. Not in a secret part of way, but but just because people who are involved in things that are aligned often find each other.
Yeah. I know that the pattern, the problem solving that occurs in the background when I come across new information, it's like, oh, is this a way that I can control this event?
Yeah.
A relationship, like, oh, is this creative process stuff? Is this going to help me save this relationship, for example?
Yeah. That you would see what you're learning from my work as not what it is, but as a way of trying to compensate for a dangerous world in which you don't have power.
Yeah,
I mean, what it's not about, by the way. It's not just to say.
I mean, in reality, I'm fully there. Like,
yeah, it's about creating.
In reality, the work is helping me write songs and do all the things that I want to do with my dynamic urge. And then I can see the compensating strategy get his hooks into like, oh, and maybe there's high hopes that maybe there's something else going on.
Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit about the freedom to be how you actually are, and not trying to control the outcomes of that. Because you're really in the habit. Not only is it a part of the pattern and part of the compensating strategy and the structure, but you're in the habit of acquiescing and then reacting to when the confrontation happens, it's almost like you're reacting to the acquiescence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then it doesn't work and you go back. When I say it doesn't work, I mean you're not able to clear the air and get a level of understanding. And the message there for you is you can't be yourself.
Yeah. Also, something that seems, it's like, oh, I can be myself, but later. There's something sort of like,
Yeah, get around to it.
I'll get around to it. It's like this longing, like, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where I be myself.
Well, now, why do you suppose you act in ways that are inconsistent with how you actually are? What do you think the motivation for that is?
Like the way that I actually am is unacceptable.
Well, it's partly unacceptable in the sense that you're trying to control other people's reactions to you.
Yeah.
So the way you've played it, your life is you are a certain way. You think that's not cool to others. You think it's totally cool for you, by the way.
Yeah, that's
so it's not like you have a problem with your identity. It's that you think they have a problem with your identity.
Yeah.
And so you better not be yourself, because otherwise you won't. You're trying to control their reaction, so you can't be yourself because they wouldn't like it. You see how the phrase "you can't control what you can't control" includes other people's reaction to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you say that a few more times? And as you say it, really think it through and see the dimensions of it as it plays out in your life and what the implications would be in your life.
Can't control what I can't control. I can't control what I can't control. Can't control what I can't control. I can't control what I can't control.
So what's happening in you as you're coming to this understanding?
Yeah, there was a dropping down into reality of sorts. Just with stress, that kind of built up tension of, on every decision. Every decision is not a decision in itself. It's got all of this cascade of consequences that in that structure, whether I'm consciously going through them or not, they're there. And
Yeah, it probably most often is not conscious. It's not like you're
yeah,
with malice and forethought trying to scheme and plan. It's more of a automatic reaction to that the world's dangerous and you better look out.
yeah, yeah. So a kind of relief, just a
Yeah.
relief.
Did you feel
Oh,
less defensive?
yeah. I mean, it's a bit like, what do you expect me to do?
In other words, there's nothing you have to do in particular. Is that
Yeah,
a good description of it?
yeah. Like I get to do what I choose to do, and that's more or less all there is to be done.
Well, also, and people will like you or not like you, and it's up to them, and you have no control over that.
Yeah, and I know that, for there's certainly been a development of like, take it or leave it, take me or leave me, whatever, you know.
Well, no, that's take it or leave it is more still control preemptively
Hmm.
versus, people are free to like you or not like you. It's up to them. You have no say in the matter, really. And if you're yourself, then the people who like you will really like you. And the people who don't like you won't like you. And fair enough. Isn't that fair enough?
Yeah, definitely fair enough. My mind just went to ways that I think that I've like tested the extremes. Do they still like me when I say this?
You're testing them for control.
Testing them to see if all the other ways that I control their perception of me is resilient enough to this.
Yeah.
Is that? Oh gosh.
So what is the orientation now? How are you feeling? What's going on? What insights are you having? Are you feeling a change of underlying structure? I mean, you said a few things in terms of stress and being away and feeling
Hmm.
all of that, but I'm just wondering how, it's been very easy to work with you in terms of going over the ground here. And I want to make sure that you really are getting the reality of it rather than just superficially kind of seeing it, but not getting the reality of it.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that was one thing that I came in feeling like, oh, I don't want to do that. I feel like I know I could do that. But actually, it feels like it's gone in quite deep. There's something, I can feel a sensation in my legs, like a heaviness in my legs,
Mm.
which when I felt my embodiedness, it's always sort of been from the torso up.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
see.
very aware right now of my kind of lower legs on the ground. Um,
Do you feel a little disoriented?
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like if I walk out this door, where am I? Yeah, yeah, disoriented. That's the word.
Well, if you're not trying to control stuff, it's like you don't have the job you had. And it's a little bit strange. Do you think people are free to like you or not like you? And it's up to them and not up to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Same as you can like them or not like them.
yeah. I mean, I can almost feel I can imagine the saved energy in all of the various circumstances I can see playing out, or that I am currently involved in but haven't yet taken action on. Like, oh yeah, well, from this structure, there's all of that other nonsense I don't have to try and bring in and use to manipulate the circumstance.
Yeah, good. I think we're done. Do you think we're done?
Yeah.
How was doing the session for people watching this?
I mean, it was like, I mean, it's felt totally effective in what it was set out to do. Confusing because it's totally different. It's a totally different experience structurally. And I mean that sort of by the frames of the experience is very strange because there's no parallel. It seems like a conversation, but actually what's happening, I felt that as you were asking me things that I'm just experiencing layers of my pattern, like rather than exploring my concepts with you. It was, it felt very much, I don't know, subterranean is the word that comes up. It's like, yeah. So it felt like a very different conversation structure. As it built, it wasn't a breakthrough or an epiphany but it was a slow build.
Like evolutionary, yeah.
Yeah, evolutionary. Yeah, it sort of like, yeah, into this different structure. And also, like, nothing very personal about it. The lack of story, the lack of detail, let's say, just makes it like, what's the underlying? Suddenly this focus is on something completely different than what mostly gets the attention. And so I'll say that having watched some and thinking, oh, what would it be like to be in that? Almost impossible to think about because it's so experiential. And it's when you're listening to a conversation, you're in a narrative and a concept of what they're experiencing. What I've experienced was very much just kind of a methodical pacing into into this new territory, this new area.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, stay on. I'm going to end the recording and say goodbye to you after it stops.
Yeah.